Alright, so in the last chapter, Marley ended up going to the African American theater and putting herself and Liz in real danger when she gets caught. And um, Betty Jean saved her by vouching for her being a good white person and not a spy or a mobster. Um, so at the end of that chapter, Marley and Liz agree to meet up at the Rock Crusher, and we'll find out what happens. Chapter 23, The Rock Crusher. Betty Jean was waiting for me in the kitchen when I got home from school on Monday afternoon. Marley, we need to talk. Her arms were folded over the big red flower in the middle of her apron, and she was frowning. I sat down at the table with a gulp. I knew what this was about. My time with a certain girl from Kansas. Have you told your parents you went to the gym this past weekend? I shook my head. Of course not. I didn't want to get in trouble. Betty Jean sighed. Then I'm afraid I'll have to mention it to them. No! She looked up, startled to hear me talking so loud. Truthfully, I was kind of surprised too. Betty Jean, please. If you tell, I'll be in big trouble. Marley, I know your father has some liberal views, and I applaud him for that, but you can't be friends with that girl. I know, I said. Betty Jean sighed. I wish it was different, Marley. I really do. That girl's having a hard time of it and could use a friend like you. I made a mistake, I said. Please don't tell. It can't happen again, Betty Jean said. I nodded. I felt like Pinocchio, knowing I was going to meet Liz at the Rock Crusher on Tuesday. I told myself, it's not a lie if you don't say anything. But even as I thought it, I knew that wasn't true. Guess I did not fool Betty Jean, though, because she went over and cut me a piece of apple pie. Lucky for you, she said, I sometimes have a very bad memory. She handed me the pie. Thank you, I said. She nodded. Now don't make me regret it. So as the reader right now, my thinking voice is asking, why do I think that Betty Jean stood up for Marley and is keeping this secret? And honestly, I think it's because Betty Jean understands Marley. She understands the time. She knows why Liz tried to pass. She knows, how dangerous it can be. And it just really sucks. So I think Betty Jean is trying to vouch for Marley and keep a little secret because she understands that. On Tuesday afternoon, I had Daddy and Betty Jean in my head, telling me what a naughty girl I was for being friendly. Still, I managed to ignore them both and wait in the little clearing in the woods, sitting on the very rock where Judy had bandaged my hand. Liz was late. I started to worry that she wasn't going to come at all. So I did what I always did when I started to worry. I started to count. It was prime numbers at first, but somehow it changed into counting all the new people on my talking list. I'd added Miss Winthrop and Mr. Harding. Now that we were doing math together, sometimes I had more than just numbers. Maybe I don't understand. Or more often, oh, I get it. I'd spoken to Liz's mother on the phone, even if I was reading from cue cards and chatting with Tommy hadn't even made me sweat. For so long, I'd been the quiet girl. If it wasn't her anymore, who was I? So right now, right now, Marley is questioning identity, okay? Keep that in mind, because we notice Marley's identity changes. Finally, said Liz, stepping into the clearing. I've been wandering around for 20 minutes trying to find you. She looked, taking a large stone I was sitting on. The ring of trees, the path leading into the woods. The grass was tall and turning brown, but a few wildflowers still poked their heads up the meadow. Sorry, I said. No, it's good, said Liz. It means other people won't be able to find us. She sat down on the rock next to me. So, Liz said. So, I said. We sat there in silence for a moment. How are things at school? Liz asked. The same, I said. JT asked you out yet? No. I remember what he'd called Liz. Even if he did ask me out now, I wasn't sure I would go. How are things at your school? Fine, said Liz, but there was a catch in her voice and her smile seemed just a little too tight. Really? I asked. No, Liz's face fell like a house of cards, meaning suddenly. Things are terrible. Everyone is still ignoring me. This morning in English, a teacher asked Janet to hand out books, and she skipped me. I thought it was an accident, so I said I didn't get one. She looked right in my face, so I knew she heard me, but she just kept going down the row. That's awful. And when I walk down the hall, people move away to let me pass, so I won't accidentally bump into them, like I'm a leaper or something. They talk about me like I'm not there, too. At least Shirley does. She's like Sally, only 100 times worse. She's always saying stuff like, some people think they're so fancy they need to go to a school with white folks. I'm so sorry. Liz shook her head. I know I make it worse. The words build up and build up until I explode and start screaming. I asked you a question. Why won't you respond? Don't you have any manners? When I'm done, the others just laugh and go back to ignoring me. It's embarrassing. What did your mother say? I asked. My mother is so angry at me, she nearly made me go live with my aunt. She yelled at me for an hour when she heard about the gem, until I convinced her I really didn't know you were coming. Besides, I know what I need to do. I need to learn to ignore them. How are you going to do that? Liz looked at me and grinned. You're going to teach me. Me? Of course, you're the best at being quiet. I always thought of being quiet as a negative, something that was wrong with me. Was it possible that Liz saw it as a strength? I know it won't solve everything, said Liz. They probably still won't talk to me. But if I stop yelling, at least I won't feel like such a fool. What do you say, Marley? Will you help me learn to keep my mouth shut? I nodded. Good, said Liz. I knew I could count on you. Now I just had to figure out how to teach her something that came so naturally to me. So Marley and Liz are helping each other with opposites. Liz has helped Marley find her voice, and now Marley has to help Liz suppress hers for their safety.